What's going on, Classic Buffalo family? You know it's me, by the voice, Ryan Monson. I am the host of The Library, brought to you by Classic Buffalo, where we are sharing people's stories in an effort to make people feel less alone, empower you when you share your story. This week, we are talking with someone I actually met at a networking party event that I was actually at for my clothing company. And we really hit it off, and she is just actually kind of passionate. And, you know, I was picking random people, and then next thing you know, she actually has a big passion for mental health and has a really cool story. So let's talk with my friend Emily. It's going to be some curveballs, some fun, interesting conversation, but ultimately just another good episode. So enjoy Book 17. Thanks, guys. Hey, how'd you get in my car?
Well, we met up for a photo shoot today for Your Apparel Vintage Indie, and afterwards we decided to meet in the car because there's less sounds that disrupt our talking.
There we go. We're here talking with Emily Florea. It's Gloria with an F.
Gloria with an F, and except it's EA instead of IA.
Right, so it doesn't sound anything. It's totally different.
Totally different, but that's the only way to get people to understand it. And it's really, because it's really an old last name. It's actually from Romania.
Whoa, so are you Romanian?
Actually, our heritage, I think, is actually Roma, which is like Romanian, which is this kind of like a slander word to use, but gypsies.
That's a slander?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. It's like a slanderous word that people have come of. So,
whoa.
Yeah, I don't like to use it, but like when you say Roma, people don't usually understand what that means. So, because they just think, oh, just Romanian. I was like, no, it actually is for gypsies.
So have you been there?
No, I would like to though, to just see where my people originally came from. Yeah. But I have been to France and Italy though. And Canada, but I mean that's kind of like going to your cousin's house.
I mean, most people haven't been to Canada.
But I went before you even needed a passport. Like you just needed your birth certificate.
What?
Yeah, back in the day, to go to Mexico and Canada, you just needed your birth certificate to get over there. You didn't need a passport like you do now.
Wow, where in Canada did you go?
Over in Quebec. I actually went, which is really weird, on 4th of July, so I could see the fireworks across the water in the United States for the 4th of July while I was in Canada.
What's Quebec like? I heard that's like the Boston of Canada.
It's really pretty, and most of the people there speak English, because other provinces you get to, they mostly will speak French, but there they speak a lot of English. It's just really pretty. It just, even the air felt cleaner. I don't know why, but they have, it's just beautiful. And they even have a big sweater thing, like a store that they're known for. It's called Roots.
Oh, that's in Quebec?
Yeah, like we got sweaters there because it was actually that cold in July over on the other side.
Oh my
basically.
God.
Yeah. Is
Roots based in Quebec? Because I've been to Toronto, so
I'm not sure Roots if it's based in Quebec, but in Canada, that's kind of like their Nike before probably Nike was over big over there.
Right. What's like one thing where you're like, okay, I'm in Canada, or Quebec, where you're like, oh yeah,
just more agriculture. Like there's more trees, forests, woods. They have a little bit older buildings, and they don't have these, like, you know how we have these huge like malls and things like that. They don't necessarily have those as much over there. It's like more got that smaller village type, even though they're probably not that much older than us, if that makes any sense. Like a country wise.
Right. Well, so you went to Quebec and then you've been to France. So what's the French connection? Can you speak French? And what's your fascination with France?
Well, it was France and Italy was part of my French class, like when I was going into my senior year of high school.
Okay.
So I can speak a little bit of French. My speaking skills are not the best, but if somebody's speaking to me, usually I can understand a lot better, and I read a lot better French than I can speak. It's really weird.
Doesn't Gabby speak French too? Did I miss that?
No, she really doesn't. Like, no, we were making the joke that even though she's like half Latina, that she can't really speak any Spanish. Like, I probably could say more Spanish phrases than she could.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I say she looks Hispanic, but she opens her mouth and sounds like a valley girl.
Yeah. Would you say Gabby's your best friend?
Yes, I would definitely say she's like, we always say we're ride and die for each other. And that it's crazy just because of the age gap between us, and because we have 10 years She's like just 21 and I'm about to be 31.
Wow.
So a lot of people think that's weird too, but when we're together, we just really even each other out. We bring the best in each other. You know, a lot of people think that both of us are just like these powerful boss ladies, but you never know like how we share insecurities with each other, or, you know, anxiety about things that people don't even know. So it's kind of nice to have somebody you can actually share how you feel and not feel judged at all about it, because they can totally relate. But it's just crazy how I even met Gabby.
So let's talk about how we met and then talk about Gabby. So we met at a networking party about a week or two ago.
Through Plug ND, It's really coming out. I love Landon, who's one of the big wigs of that. Love the guy. He has this really strong vision. He just wants people to be able to connect with other people and be able to share their passions and their interests and be able to connect with others that feel the same way and spread that around. That's like his true goal for the whole app and these events and stuff like that, because he just really cares about people and wants people to be successful with their dreams and their, you know, ideas that they want to have and do. So I love the vision he has, and I love how he can bring like people like you and me together, and, you know, help each other out and not make it where it's like, you know, some industries like that in other big cities, they're very cutthroat.
Oh, for sure.
Backstabbing, stuff like that. But he's trying to spin it here to grow, but in a positive environment. Yeah, but that event was like one of the many that they do. But I always try to get people to go because it's a lot of fun. Like, you had fun, right?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know very many people other than Landon, and he wasn't very there. But then, like, so I had used the app to meet Gabby, and we had already planned to do modeling or whatever. And so I'm like, I was like, oh, shoot, I know her. So I introduced myself, and then you were there. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of hit it off and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into you and Gabby. So how did you guys meet?
We met through a mutual friend about over a year ago, because it was in June, on her birthday. It's just one of those weird things, like, as I have described, it's like kind of like love at first sight, but it's not. It's platonic. As soon as I locked eyes with her, I knew that somebody was special. This person was going to be in my life no matter what. And it's been kind of like that ever since for us, like just doing everything together. It's kind of like having a girlfriend, but you know, it's just crazy at the love there, and like how it's just family basically too at the same time.
Yeah. How beneficial has that been to have someone like Gabby in your life?
Oh, very much, because we were very influential on each other with positive energy, you know, just whether it's like physical goals we have, or just social goals or business like goals, you know. Especially Gabby, she's been in it a lot longer than I have. She's definitely a hustler in a good sense, though, because she always wants to help other people. She's not trying to, like, flip on somebody just to only help herself. So she, you know, has put in the hours. She puts in the work. You know, she gets a goal. She's definitely for it, for sure. So she definitely could share that, though, talking with you about that.
We'll have her on the podcast.
Yeah.
So she inspires you?
Yes, a lot. I mean, I've had friends before too, but you know, a lot of times people are kind of stuck in the certain gender roles that females have, is like, you know, being married, having kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. I hope one day to do those too, but that's not all I want for myself. I don't want to be seen as just a baby making machine or someone's wife. No offense to anybody, but you know what I mean? I think I'm more than my uterus, basically.
Ooh, that's the title of the episode.
I'm more than my uterus, and I am definitely ready to show that. I've always kind of let myself be in the shadow, always pushing other people's dreams that I've been with. You know, people I've dated, like, if they've wanted to be, you know, in sports, if they, even their faith, they want to be stronger in their faith. You know, I dated somebody who was in a band. I solely supported that, even like when they recorded CDs and stuff like that. You know, I even offered to help with like writing music, even listening to the songs that they were writing to just give feedback, you know, but I never got that reciprocated back. You know, like if I had a dream that it was either childish or silly, or like, what was the point of it? And that is definitely one thing I love about the person I'm with. He's like my best friend. He lets me be who I want to be and has zero judgment whatsoever, and has complete trust. Like, you know, if I go out with Gabby to an event like where I met you, like, he's not concerned about me being around dudes, because he knows how respectful and everything. So that is just one thing I truly feel blessed with
Yeah, so let's go a little bit, and you don't have to be specific with, the relationship stuff, but talk about, because you had mentioned when we were talking earlier, the impact that your current significant other has had on you, and how in previous relationships you've really felt stifled, you've felt like you couldn't be yourself. You're always adapting to what the other person needs. And can you talk a little bit about the freeingness of, because I'm sure you can still go through that being single and then getting somebody, because that's what maybe usually happens. You become single and then that significant other doesn't really have that, I wouldn't say much of an impact, but they're not necessarily always related. But you notice that in this relationship you do have that, he's just like, be yourself.
Yes, exactly. And it's crazy. A lot of people don't understand why we're together, because I'm an extreme extrovert. And I've tried to date extroverts. Every other boyfriend I've ever had, extrovert, and it never works because they just don't know, I guess, how to control that part of themselves. Because you have to have some level of control when you're an extrovert person, because people might mistake you being overly flirty when you're really just being nice and friendly. Like how I can come up to you, a complete stranger at an event, and talk to you, but somebody might misinterpret that. So the past people I've been with, but he's an extreme introvert. He loves to be a homebody. We stay at home. Like last night for our fun evening, we were playing Fortnite together.
It's awesome.
So other people look at that and they're really confused, but that's my comfort zone, and that's where I like to be when I'm not out doing this kind of stuff. It's a way for me to recharge, because this does take a lot of energy, even for being an extrovert. Just going out and doing things and being around people and stuff like that, and then being home with him is great. And it definitely has made an impact. But I also love this saying. It was from the Red Table Talk by Jada Pinkett Smith. She's like, you have all these roles, wife, mother, girlfriend, boyfriend, you have all these different roles, son, daughter, whatever. And if you're always filling up everybody else's cup all the time and filling in their needs and stuff, and then you leave nothing for yourself, then that's when people become lost and they have identity crises or midlife crises, or they just seem so depressed and so lost because they don't know who they are anymore. And I totally understand that perspective, because I've definitely been there, like you said, in past relationships, pouring in all these other people's desires or what they want to be or how they think we should be as a couple together, and then you literally wake up one day and you realize how miserable you are because you don't even know who the hell you are anymore, basically. So with this guy that I'm dating now and I've been with, we were even friends beforehand, and I think that's a really good base, because you get to know a lot about the person, and then when you get in it, you're just adding the romance part to the relationship you basically already have with that person. So and they also know too where you've come from before. So he saw the last relationship I had, so that's why he has also a lot of complete trust in me, that I'm not somebody, obviously I had a guy friend and was completely respectful of the relationship at the time that I was in. So that is one thing, when people ask him, well, how can you let her go out and do all these things without you? He's like, because she's been in situations before and has proven her loyalty. So, which is, I think, another thing that's really important, with friends, family, and significant others.
So would you advocate for being good friends with somebody before dating?
Oh, definitely. Because you get to learn a lot more. I feel like the relationships that I had before, I didn't really know the people, and then you get in these romantic relationships and it really clouds your judgment on the flaws you start to see the longer you're with them. I knew what kind of person, he was beforehand, so there's not a lot of surprises really down the road. Yes, some just because the fact that he's never been in a relationship besides me before, so there's some learning curve with that kind of stuff. But other than that, it makes it easy, at least to me. I know some people are like, well, that's not how a relationship should be, but why not? Why shouldn't it be easy?
Why should you listen to it's not their relationship?
Yeah.
Right? If you think it should be a certain way, it can be. And
it's whatever you feel comfortable living with. And I don't living with stress, so I'm not going to have that in my relationship, which I've always used to have, and it's just too chaotic.
Yeah. Talk about, when you talked about gender roles and even Jada Pinkett Smith, what are some other, if I'm a girl and I'm I want to be XYZ and I feel like I can't because I'm a woman, what enter occupation, passion, whatever.
Oh gosh, yeah.
What are some role models that have either helped you, or be like, listen to her podcast, or look at what she's doing, or like, are there people that come to mind that you're like, that's a really good example of someone who's just like going for what they believe in?
A lot of people are probably going to bash me on this, but I love the Kardashian clan. People can talk crap all they want about them, but at the end of the day, even when people talk crap about them, try to bring them down, try to destroy the things that they're trying to do to better their lives and better their future family lives, like the positivity and support they have too of each other is just family and sisters. Like, that is just really something to look at. Like, I don't see that a lot in a lot of other famous people per se, like especially that big of a group of people. Like, there's a lot of them and they're very supportive of every single one of themselves. Like, I don't know this, but also like I said, I like Jada Pinkett. Her Red Table Talk is I really like listening to some of those and watching them, really, because they're more of a visual but also like a talking. Sometimes if I like the gossip, but it also is real. It's real life because it's from women's perspective. The Chicks in the Office through Barstool Comedy, I think it is.
I've heard of. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you were the one that I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's like they are just hilarious, but they also talk about legit things. I think that's another thing, like you're talking about XYZ as a woman. Like, a lot of times people do put roles on us in certain fields. You know, I used to work for like a hardware store type company.
Really?
Yeah, and for a long time, and I can't tell you how many times people would underestimate because I looked young. And because I was a woman, that I must not know what a 2x24 is. Or that when I'm asking them, do you want that treated? They looked at me dumb. Like, I'm like, that means it's green. That means it can be outside and not really rot. But things like that, like, you know what I mean? Like, or they would be like, oh, can I have a man? Because I used to work in windows and doors, special ordering too.
Somebody said that to you?
Yeah, they were like, I would like a guy. So the person we had was pretty much new, the only guy. So as soon as I left them with the guy, and then the guy had to come get me. And then when I came back to the guests per se, it was hilarious to watch their faces. I literally took over and completed the order correctly. So, but
that's baller.
Yeah, but then also, like, kind of the gender roles, like with that too, is that people have, when you're female, they just think you're fair game no matter what. I would have contractors who would like hit on me, or even like come back and knew I was still working, which is kind of stalkerish to me a little bit, and seek me out in my place of work and try to get me to go on a date with them. Like, I don't know, that's like, some people think, oh, that's cool. No, that's really uncomfortable. That's somebody
really cool.
So that somebody knows your work schedule to come in while you're working to try to ask you out, and they don't even know you at all. Like,
right.
So,
man, that's because it's like you're in a compromising position. Like, if you're in a customer service role, what are you supposed to say?
Right. And then I just had to be like, oh, sorry. At the time, the boyfriend I had actually worked there as a manager, so I was like, actually, I don't feel he would feel really comfortable, because he actually worked quite close to a lot of contractors actually. So but another like thing is also being female and young looking. People don't realize how educated I am. Like, I do have a degree in business administration. A lot of people look really surprised when I say that. And actually, I even almost went to nursing and decided not, but like, I literally got all A's and B's in college. So, which is really difficult, especially in science classes. Like, I was taking like biology and chemistry and getting A's and B's in that stuff. Like, taught by doctors. So,
whoa.
Yeah. It happens a lot. People underestimate when you're a female. And I love this quote my current boyfriend said. He said, as a white male, I will never understand what it's like to have prejudice or feel judged because of my sex or gender.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, so kudos to the people out there who still work through it.
So do you put a chip on your shoulder? Like, does that drive you to be like the underdog, quote unquote? Or do you kind of just, like, what do you do with that? Like, when you say, like, this is who I am, like, I am a female. Like, what do you do with that information? Do you kind of, does it motivate you? Does it?
It definitely now motivates me, especially in such a good place. I don't want people to underestimate me. I don't want people to think that they can get away, treat me a certain way because they think that I'm some, like, dumb young person. especially, like, I do not like it when people throw the word around, like, millenniums, like it's a bad taste in their mouth. Like, the most people I know who are the, like, least, like, judgmental, less prejudiced, best go-getters out there, even when the odds are stacked so high against our generation, are the millenniums that I know. Like, sometimes, like, the hardest people to impress, which is unfortunate, is our elders. And I don't know, so
yeah, that's really good. I totally agree with that. I think it's a good, like, it's a good exercise to realize what are your obstacles and how can I turn them into chips on your shoulder. Like, how can I...
What makes you drive, yeah, like, what's gonna push you forward. Because sometimes I think people forget that, like, a big business, like, model is, like, always remember what your why is. So, like, if it is that chip on your shoulder, like, you need to prove to people that you are better than some stigmata or whatever. I remember even having that younger, being raised by a single mom, you know, people judging my mother for being divorced, that she must be some sleazy woman, which was not the case at all. She divorced my father because he was an alcoholic, so she was actually looking out for her kids. So, or people telling her that because she was a single mother raising kids, that me and my brother were probably going to be either teen pregnancy, into drugs, or go to jail, or drop out of high school, which none of that happened. Like, my brother has multiple degrees in college, and he joined the military, and neither one of us have kids, and we both graduated high school, so...
Right. Win.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, like, in whatever detail you want. Talk about growing up, how close you are with your brother, obviously, and so I talked with somebody a couple episodes back about growing up in a single-parent home and the challenges, especially both of them were single mom parenthood, like you and my friend, and he's having kind of a developing relationship with his father. You know, talk about growing up in a single-parent home. We'll start with that.
Well, my parents got divorced when I was really young. I was probably 3, and I don't even remember life with him living with us, because I don't have memories past the age of 6. So I don't know if that's like a mental block for my brain because of the trauma.
Yeah.
I probably went through that. You know, somebody being suddenly there and not anymore, like when you're that small. That really affects your universe pretty much. My brother and me are only 21 months apart, so I, again, don't remember life without him. You know, it's kind of like having the chain gang member that you never asked for. So,
are you older or younger?
I'm the older one.
Okay. What is it like to be an older sibling?
Well, it's crazy because I'm the older sibling between us, but we have a sister who's 13 years older than I am. So it's kind of like I was raised middle, but also oldest child at the same time. So it's really conflicting because you have somebody who thinks they're like the boss because they're the oldest child, but you then have to look out for your technically younger sibling.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes hard. Like, you know, my brother and sister both were definitely a handful for my mother, so I was definitely that kid, like, even at an early age, knew that I needed to be perfect and everything, even with my behavior in the way I did. Like, if she asked me to do something or my family asked me to do something, like, I was, you know, on it, because I did not want to cause her any more stress or, you know, issues than my siblings were already doing for her.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, pushing through that. Yeah, my brother and me, we have a decent relationship, but just growing up, it was really hard just because my father, we did get to visit with him, but again, he was an alcoholic, and so I got to see a different side. So it was like Jekyll and Hyde, our relationships with our father, because I got to see the good guy, the nice guy, but then, like, my father would take out a lot of aggression and anger out on my brother that I didn't see. And so my brother had a lot of hate towards my father and me because he thought that because I got treated so well, that even though I didn't know none of this was going on, that I was, you know, some stuck up, spoiled or something like that. And so a lot of times when my brother would have anger outbursts, they would be directed towards me because he couldn't direct them towards my father.
Yeah, it's like it just gets transferred.
Yeah.
The anger, you know, hurt people.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is like, you see that a lot nowadays when people are like, aggressive or have like even like abusive issues towards people they're in relationships with and stuff like that, and then you find out their history. It makes a lot of sense because it's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah. How do you end it?
he worked really hard for it. He, did anger counseling, a lot of therapy, because that's not the person he wanted to be like. So, like, now we have a really decent relationship, but it just is a lot of work because of all those years missed out because him thinking I'm enemy number one. So, but I truly love him to death, and, I wouldn't change it for the world. Definitely made us the people we are today, having that kind of rough childhood a little bit.
Right. So you kind of managed that. Was sports a part of your life kind of growing up at all? Or, because a few people I've talked with over the last couple of podcasts have had sports be kind of, an important part. Have they met friends? Just good memories from that?
Yeah, sports, like, in just being fit in gym when I was, like, middle school, high school, because that's when a lot more stuff was coming out. Like, I was realizing what kind of person, especially, like, my father was. That was really hard to cope with, so those things were outlets for me to use as, like, my own kind of, like, coping skills and therapy. And then just getting to be social with people, because I couldn't really be social outside the home very much because the issues with get caused by my brother. If I got to do something, he didn't get to do something, kind of thing. So if I had the excuse of being in sports, then it really wasn't, because he wasn't in them. So like I had that excuse, well, I have to do this because it's related to sports, kind of thing. So but that's how I've met friends that I had. And when I got into high school, I got really turned on by pole vaulting for women.
Really?
Started the year I was a freshman in high school, where girls could actually pole vault in high school level and actually score points and place and stuff, and like go to like sectionals, regional, state, stuff like that for it. So that was something I did all through high school, and it was like the main thing I trained myself physically for, and just poured a lot of my extra energy into that I had.
So do you have like records at the high school?
I don't know if I still do, but I had all the records, and it was crazy, is because I would compete also against girls who were like either gymnasts or like did lots of aerobics because of like cheerleading and stuff, who you'd think would have a lot better like edge over me, especially doing that kind of sport, because you have to be real agile and like really conscious of your body and where it's going, so you don't like hit the bar or land funny and stuff like that. And I would still beat them time after time after time. And I remember even a girl on my team like one time crying at a meet to her mother, which I felt really bad about. Like, I didn't feel like it was that needed to be that deep. It was just because that was my outlet for me. But she cried because I kept beating her, and she was like a really good gymnast.
Wow.
And she was one of those people that were very perfectionist and really had to be good. I mean, she was like in the top 10 too, I think, of our class. Like, really smart. So for somebody like a nobody basically to beat her, and that, especially with no formal training, was really hard on her.
Yeah.
So, I think, though, you need to kind of ties with, like, you need to be in competition with yourself and not with other people, because your journey is a lot different than everybody else's.
Oh, that's so hard. Can you speak any more on that?
Yeah, a lot of times,
hey, they've got that thing going on over there. Well, they're farther on their journey. Like, they did exactly what I want to do at 30, so I have to get it done by 30.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I used to have that mindset, even about personal things, not even just, like, stuff like this. Like, even in my life, like I talked about earlier, like, when I was 25, I cried about turning 25, especially because I wasn't married and I didn't have kids. And a lot of people I knew were either married or had children. And so I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, why cannot my life be on that same path? But then you have to just learn to accept it, that my path is a lot different than a lot of people my age or people I'm friends with or close around to me. Like, even with Gabby, like, yeah, we're doing some of the same things, but our journeys are still very different. So that's why I do not compare myself with her at all, because a lot of people want to do that, but I don't, because then you just start getting really hard on yourself, and it starts planting the seeds of self-doubt, for sure, of what you're doing and where it's going, and if you're doing well enough.
Was there anything, like, practically that you did that kind of helped you recenter and, like, kind of say, like, oh, I am on track, or maybe I'm not, but I don't have to be, like, there tomorrow or there today?
I think a little bit of time, and just also building that inner self-love, and also self-confidence, because I think people rely so much on social media and other people to do that for them, but you need to have that from within for it to withstand like all these things that might come and like block your way, to be able to get around them, because you can't always rely on other people. You can't always rely on things like social media to affirm your self-worth at all. Because if you do that, then that's where you see these people faltering or getting in big bouts of depression, and just then getting totally off track with what they want from themselves and from life.
If I'm wrapped up in social media and what other people think, what would you say to me?
At that point, I'm gonna be like, what are you doing with that? Like, what are you looking for in that? Because you need to find that in yourself first. Because that's what I think when people get so wrapped up in that stuff, is because they need something. They're addicted to whatever it's giving them, because they can't have it in their life or in themselves. Because they could say social media can be an addiction for people, and that's why people. I think I'm glad that they're gonna actually eventually, I think, get rid of the likes on social media.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because then people judge their self-worth based on likes, and that's really sad.
Yeah, because it's not accurate.
No.
It's just a bunch of highlight reels. And like, I don't know, like FOMO gets triggered anytime, like on the weekends, or maybe not even that, like, well, she's in Aruba, or
oh yeah
I have to work tonight and they're going out, and that's
not realistic, like you said, for everybody. Like, their journey is different.
Yeah.
So that person can go to Aruba, but is that realistic for me? No.
Yeah, what if they have a really bad relationship? So what I struggle with is, like, if I see somebody who's happy, the only way I can, like, feel good is if I make their life terrible.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why, like, where I picture, like, oh, they have that thing, or they're doing that. Oh, well, they actually probably have an abusive relationship, or they have, like, I make it so I can be like, okay, well, they have that really hard thing to deal with. And I don't know how to get over that, because it's, the goal, right, is to say they're happy or they're doing that thing, and maybe that's awesome. And there's not really anything else like that. They are really happy, and then I need to be able to accept that person's happiness somehow, and not have it affect my own. Yeah. But usually it's like strangers or people I don't actually know.
Yeah, like a lot of times people like think when they see somebody posting about their significant other on social media, oh, they're just doing that because they don't want people to know how terrible it really is, or whatever. And sometimes that's just really, they really feel that good about that person or whatever. It has nothing to do with negative stuff. But yeah, for other people, and not like you said, for yourself personally, you feel like you need to like kind of tear them down a little bit.
Yeah.
I would say to that is, at that point, why do you feel that need? Why do you feel like you need to tear them down? No, really, like, why would
you're asking me.
why do you feel like you really need to tear them down?
Oh, man.
Now I'm going to turn the tables on you. Psychology coming into play here.
What do I feel like? Because I really want to be that person, or I really want that thing they have. And if I have something that I don't know, like, let's say vintage indie is this thing, and then, but I don't have XYZ. Now I look at the other person and they have XYZ, but they want vintage indie. And so I'm like, all right, it equals out. Like,
right.
That my own struggles and stuff, the stuff I really want, I just can't have that. I just can't. And that's just something I have to deal with, which sucks because it's stuff I really, really want. But so, like, yeah, I get kind of trapped in that mind. That
mindset,
the infinity loop of tearing somebody down to equal it out, just because, like, it's like, oh, that's their cross to bear. Everybody has one. Mine happens to be my goals and dreams, I guess. Which sucks.
But it ties back into, like, everybody's journey is different, and maybe those things aren't ready for you now because you need to focus on vintage indie and getting it to where it's at a good place before you can focus on the other X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is sometimes you don't want to have too many hands in different pots, because then you get really stretched out, and then the things that you're trying to accomplish don't actually happen. That's what I would say to you, is then also focus on what in your life is making you have happiness, and not focusing on the happiness of other people's life, because then you're, again, comparing it to them, and you're not them, you're yourself. So
yeah, I gotta work on that.
It's really hard. Like, I can sit here and profess this, but I mean, sometimes I'm like, dang, I would love to do that, or I wish my body looked that kind of way in a certain outfit, or, that event is so awesome, why couldn't I get an invite to something like that? Different just things like that, or like, even in my own relationship, like I said, I really love it, but it would be nice to be able to post pictures on the gram of my boyfriend, but he's such a introvert. He does not like that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So, but that's something I come to understand. That's his comfortability, and like just I have happiness with the relationship. I don't have to always put it out there just to feel like I connect with other people because they can do it too.
Let me ask you a question. How do you feel about people saying like do like the long ass paragraphs where it's like they just go on a novel about how much they love their significant, it's like their birthday, it's the anniversary,
right?
Like it to me it's weird because it's kind of like, why don't you just tell that to the significant other,
right? But there's also I forget the name of the book, but it's like everybody has a different love language.
Right.
Yeah. So like maybe with those people, that's their kind of love language, is doing those kind of things. But for you, it'd be really uncomfortable if you were with somebody and they did that, because you're like, why couldn't you just keep that intimate in between us?
Yeah.
Because that's your kind of love language. It's probably more like a one-on-one intimate. You know, other people like showing their love to that person and letting everybody know, not to be like showy, but that's just how they speak their love language, basically.
Right. I guess it just depends on what your motivation is, right?
Yeah,
like,
and what
are you
you're
doing it to say, look at our relationship, it's so perfect,
Right.
versus like, I want to do this because I think it's just motivation. It's really I don't know, I think motivation and intent is important in whatever you do or what in life.
And there's that thin line, because again, it's social media. You never know if somebody's being real or fake.
Yeah.
And that is where I see where you're coming from on that. Is like, is this genuine or not? Like with them posting this, like, is that because they truly just, you know, love that person so much, or is it just to get the likes or to get the attention for that, oh my gosh, FOMO for that relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's really a hard line, and that's something you have to remember, though. At the same time, it's like you can't be judging if that's what they feel like they got to do this on them. You know, that shouldn't change what you're doing and what your drive is, or what you are doing with your dreams and goals.
Yeah. So let's go to like senior year of high school, or what. So you got your degree in business, like kind of stuff like that, but then you've also had the mental health aspect kind of recently or just across your life. Let's go to senior year of high school, where you're picking your college. Was there a reason why you picked where you wanted to go, and then kind of slowly get into, all right, well actually let's just focus more on your, like, when did your passion for business, when did your passion for mental health start, kind of that kind of thing.
And that's the thing, is because I literally have spread that out through my 20s. You know, when I went to college, you know, I tried to do college right out of high school, and I only lasted like a semester at this college because I was far from home. I thought that going to a smaller college would be better because it would make me more feel closer like a high school, but actually I think it did the opposite. It made me feel really closed off because a lot of people that went there were from around there, already knew each other. So I literally was like the last one in, and you know, at the dance and scrambling and don't have a partner. So it was really hard for me to make friends, which is really bizarre for me because I'm such an extrovert. You know, and it's just a lot of stuff was going on that time, because also I was still trying to have a long distance relationship with my high school sweetheart. Wow. And we were at totally different colleges, and his college was actually a really strict religious college where I couldn't come stay the night or anything like that. So, and he would come stay with me, but he had to be sneaky about it because his parents did not approve of that stuff. Yeah, because it was kind of against what they believed in. Yeah. Which at the time I was young and we were like, we don't care, but now I'm like, that was kind of disrespectful to. A
little bit.
Yeah. So. You live and you learn, but mental health, though, I got in, and I just finished doing that like this past December of 18.
Yep.
So I did that for about 7 years. I worked with adolescent health, and I loved every moment of it. I mean, some days were real hard. Some of the things I heard and saw were really tough that a lot of people are not used to seeing. But some of that stuff I feel like I already had experienced or seen with, you know, growing up with my siblings and my life myself when I was younger. So sometimes when people, especially these kids, would try to do stuff just for shock value, it wouldn't shock me like it would shock other people. You know, like seeing a kid destroy a room. I saw my brother destroy a room when he was 7 years old, you know, punching holes in walls and having to be strained by, you know, 3 or 4 paramedics. So, like, for me to then see that as an adult, it did not faze me at all. So, but I really liked that job. I really loved it. It was really sad to go. I really liked the people I worked with there. But, you know, you get to a point, it's like, you need to move on because you just get so stuck in it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
if I'm desensitized to trauma,
yeah,
what's your recommendation?
You gonna, especially like my situation, that's what's happening. I was getting so desensitized to people's trauma and just feeling like I was having trouble being truly empathetic to it. So I had to get myself out of that job and put myself in like situations where I could start feeling for people again and stuff like that, especially with the people I'm friends with or I'm surrounding myself with in my life, like people I can feel like I can start to care about, not just on a superficial level but a deeper level. So if you feel like you're very desensitized to people, look at that, see why are you becoming that way, what is going on in your life, or what are you going through that's causing that, and try to change it. So, or doing things that are just more positive, because a lot of times when we become desensitized is because we're in such a negative environment for so long that you have to learn to adapt to it. So it's like you need to get yourself out of the negativity.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have a motto or phrase that's really helped you? Like, I know you kind of mentioned one, but...
I mean, the truest one I've always stuck to, no matter what, my whole life, is the golden rule. And I don't think of it as a religious way. A lot of people do. I think about it as just treat others how you want to be treated. And that's what I live by. You know, I try to treat people with respect, you know, with love, compassion, empathy, you know, and it does come full circle for you when you try to live your life that way, because people see that it's coming from a good place in your heart, and it makes, and it's kind of so like a little bit selfish too, because it makes you feel good, but at the same time you're helping others and seeing not only the light in you become brighter, but the light in others become brighter, and when it's them accomplishing things, or just seeing that somebody actually cares or can listen to them.
Yeah, that's good. What is something that someone else has done for you when shit hits the fan, when something's been difficult in your past, currently? What is something that someone else has done for you that you're like, that was actually really helpful? Said something, did something, doesn't matter.
My mom. I have to say that I feel we get very lucky sometimes in our life. Not everybody's parents are like this, but my mom has unconditionally loved me since the moment I was born until even now. No matter what I've gone through, no matter what mistakes I've made, you know, she's been waiting patiently for me when I'm ready to have help to pick up the pieces when my life's fallen apart and not gone the way I thought. You know, and just having that, you know, is amazing. Like, and I feel truly blessed, and I know I will really miss that one day when I don't have it anymore. That's why I try to keep such a good, strong relationship with my mother. You know, and just having a person like that, I think, is really important. And it doesn't have to be a parent, it can be a friend, but definitely just, you know, her just even not saying words, sometimes just being there just to let me cry to her, because I'm not usually a big crier, so it makes me feel shame when I cry. Another story, but you know, I don't usually feel too bad when I do in front of her, just because she's that one person that knows that if I'm doing that, it's for a legit reason.
Yeah, so just being there.
Yeah.
Physically sometimes.
Physically, yeah. Because sometimes words, you don't need to say words. Just being there for somebody is, or them knowing that you're there for them. Just being there for them is truly important. Because a lot of times people just don't know that someone's there for them. And you don't always have to put it on social media either.
True. Like,
I have nothing wrong when people put comments, prayers and stuff like that. I have no problem with that if it's genuine. You know, that's, again, where we come, whether people are being genuine or not with their social media.
Right, good point. We'll do our 5 fun questions and we'll wrap up. So cool. Let's do, first question is, let's see, who plays you in a movie of your life?
People have compared me to Jennifer Lawrence. Really quirky, but she can also play very serious roles. But, like, if you see her in her real life, she's just kind of ditzy, funny, you know, I just feel like I really connect. Like, my spirit animal of celebrity probably would be Jennifer Lawrence, for sure. I even had kids when I worked in mental health that would call me Katniss. That was my nickname. Yep. So.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Oh, shoot. That is tough because there is some real...
Channing Tatum.
No, I wouldn't say
Matthew McConaughey.
No. See, I'm really different. I'm really into Asians right now.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm really into the Chinese cinema and also Korean, and there's a couple. The biggest one I've had the crush on the longest with is his name's Den. It's like spelled Denglung, I think, and he's been in a couple shows on Netflix and stuff. But he's Chinese, and he's like super cute, and they're very different looking than people over here. They're like more lean, really pale. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess if I wanted to go for like an American actor, that would be a little tough. I kind of definitely like the nerdy types. Okay. So.
Do you know the guy who's on Verizon? The Verizon commercials?
Yeah. Oh, wait. You mean he's on Sprint now?
Yeah. No. He's like the Verizon guy now. He was like kind of the awkward. He's like, he was on Silicon Valley.
Oh, no. I have not seen that.
I'd have to look it up.
Well, I mean, like, even in shows, like, I always was, like, attracted to Spock and Star Trek.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like, Sheldon Cooper, I know he's in real life is gay, but I still always thought he was, like, cool. Like,
really?
Yeah. Yeah, people don't know that. But, just, like, I've always been attracted to the real, like, antisocial, introverted, geeky types. Yeah, like it's really bizarre. So,
look at that.
Yeah.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes, but not with meat. I like it with tomatoes. Like Papa Murphy's has like this one where you get just cheese, pineapples, and like tomato chunks on it, and I think it's like fresh diced tomatoes, not like canned stuff. And I think that is good. That's the only pizza I could eat without nacho cheese or ranch dressing.
So all your pizza has nacho, dip it?
Yeah, dip it.
Wow.
And ranch or nacho cheese. Mm-hmm.
You get to go back and see any event in history happen. What would you go back and watch?
Oh, gosh, any event? That'd be hard because I'm a huge history buff. Yeah. Huge. I would have to say, probably Queen Elizabeth I, being England's like first like real queen, and she ballered it up for like 50 plus years, and didn't even get married. Like what? She avoided that at all costs pretty much, and was able to rule that country and make it actually prosperous. After her father and her grandfather literally like ran the country kind of down in the ground a little bit. So I definitely would love to meet her, a woman of that time period. Like, because I think it was the 1600s, who was able to accomplish that in that time period, especially when it was even harder for women. So,
man. Mm-hmm. Lastly, what's your favorite part of yourself?
My favorite part, I would say my heart. I guess two-part, like basically my heart, because I really have an open heart until you prove to me otherwise. And my eyes, because I remember my favorite saying about them, my father described. He said, my eyes are like the color of the ocean during the storm. You never know what lurks beneath. And I thought that was really deep for somebody. Yeah. So it's like you never know what somebody has beneath the surface and what you might miss out on. So that's why it's a good point to like really look somebody in the eye when you're talking to them.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, eye contact's so interesting where,
A lot of people are afraid to look people in the eyes. They get really, like, awkward about it. Mm-hmm. Or people misinterpret it. Like, you're trying to, like, I don't know.
I think for me, even romantically, like, I think some girls I've talked to, they're like, it's creepy, but like to me I'm like, I just want to stare into your eyes.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's just some soul connection, or there's just, I don't know. But
no, especially because I've looked deep into people's eyes, and sometimes I wish I could retract out because you can see the darkness inside of them almost.
What do you think it is?
That's why I feel like sometimes your reflection, like I'm not necessarily very religious, but I believe we have some like connective energy or soul or something.
Okay.
because obviously something has to animate this body because it's not there when we're dead. So, you know what I mean? You can definitely tell a difference between a dead body and a live one because of that. But I feel like sometimes when you look into people's eyes, you can see part of that. So, like, when you look into people and you can see, like, I've seen darkness in people's eyes. It makes you suddenly feel very uncomfortable. It's because you're seeing a dark part of their essence, basically.
I wonder what it's like to look in a psychopath's eyes.
I've looked in, because of mental health, I've looked into the eyes of people who are like sociopaths, yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you look in that,
you can tell?
It's darkness. There's nothing in there that has any human nature of any kind. So it makes you very uncomfortable and very creeped out to look into that, because it's literally looking into, like, even if their eyes are not dark, like, it feels like you're looking into darkness.
Like Ted Bundy.
I see. The thing is, pictures are not the best keys. Like, if I had met Ted Bundy and looked him directly in the eyes, you know what I mean?
There's I can't remember what her name is, but she wrote a lot of serial killer books about serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
She worked next to, like, in the seat over at the suicide hotline with Ted Bundy, and as Ted Bundy is being investigated, she's like, it's not him.
That's so crazy.
She had no idea. And she wrote books on serial killers.
Wow. That is crazy. Like, but it makes you wonder, though. Like we said, people don't do really good eye contact. So it's
Good point.
Like, especially if you were talking to them about, like, their ideas of, like, certain things.
Yeah, maybe she just sucked at that one.
Maybe.
She just had...
Like, I don't know, but maybe, too, like, people always have preconceived notions about a person, so the idea then that they could be capable of that, because you don't really want to believe that somebody's capable of, like, just mercilessly killing other people with no self-conscious about it.
And she probably never met any of the serial killers or whatever that she wrote
right
about.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know.
But I just thought that was really interesting.
No, that would be, like, you're like, oh, you're dumb.
Whoops.
You didn't guess that.
Here's the close. This is the last part. You're going to pick any person, significant other, family member, friend. You're going to thank them for who they are and how they've impacted your life, and then you're going to share the podcast with them, tell them to listen to this part so they can be encouraged. So who are you going to choose?
Shoot, that is really tough. I would have to say, though, probably my mom, because... You know, I'm my mom's number one fan. You know, she's not had a lot of friends or a lot of, like, supportive partners or anything like that. You know, I, from a young age, knew that I needed to help my mother in any way I can as a child, and that was, like, having good behavior. And I know as an adult, she's truly noticed that and appreciated that I was like that as a young age, and knew that I did suffer a lot of things just because. And just the relationship we have is so tight. You know, people want to say they're best friends with their parents. I don't believe that. I think your parent, there's a line that your parent is your parent. There's just certain things you don't share with them. But I would have to say that I'm deep down the closest with my mother than I am with probably any other human at all, just because of day one love, basically.
Yeah.
So I definitely would just want her to always continue to know, even though she sometimes probably doesn't feel like it, or she does feel lonely or anything like that, that she is truly always in my heart and in my thoughts, even though I don't always express it every day about how much I love her and that she is a great person. And if it wasn't for her and for her example and everything, and kind of basically the journey of my life with her, I wouldn't be probably where I am today.
Preach.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to Mom. Yeah, she definitely does not get enough shout outs for sure.
There you go. Shout out Janice.
It's actually Cheryl.
Oh, Cheryl?
It's so weird to say her name, like, because I'm, call her Mom, and then especially Cheryl is not really a common name, so it's like when I say it's like awkward. Like, it doesn't roll off the tongue very smooth. Cheryl.
S.
No, it's CHERYL.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's S''H.
Cheryl.
Well, hey, thanks so much for joining me.
Yes.
You did phenom jobs.
Thank you.
As the Valley Girl would say. Totes adorbs.
Totes adorable, like, for literally doing this. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
For real. joking aside, yeah, because Gabby always says I sound like Khloe Kardashian or something.
Really?
The way I talk.
Yeah.
She's like, when I read your text messages, I read it in your voice. But yes, no, I had a great time. Glad that I got to do this with you, Ryan. Love the idea you have with your brand and your company, in Vintage Indie. Like the clothing you have. Actually, I'm like been eyeing that LL Bean jacket, not gonna lie. Even though it's like a 90 degrees outside, it feels like.
Yeah.
And just love that you're trying to share people's stories and give them an opportunity to talk, and then also just see if it helps other people, just kind of give something for people to listen to. So really great to that.
You're a part of the movement, and that means the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, guys, until next time, if you want to share your story, do what Emily did.
Yeah. Definitely reach out to Ryan, try to get in to do this. He definitely will try to give you your voice and let people be able to hear you and what you have to say. Your story is unique and special as well.
Great way to end it. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo Podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. I just got done hanging out with Emily. She was a lot of fun. We actually did some photo shoot stuff earlier, and that went really well. We got some solid shots. We went to Dick's Sporting Goods and kind of shot outside of there, and it was cool. We met at a networking event, and I was so scared to go to this networking event because there's like 100 people, and I barely knew anybody. Only Landon, who was hosting the event, and then I basically went on the app that was basically throwing on the party, and I had met some people, or was already planning on interviewing and somebody, so I found them at the party, and then that was Gabby. And then Gabby kind of introduced me to Emily, and so, yeah, hopefully we'll have Gabby on the podcast soon. But, conversation was pretty good, wasn't it? I know you can't exactly answer, but I thought it really was. She threw me a curveball when she was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, uh-oh. I haven't been asked a question before. But, I don't know what it is where I feel like I have to put others down sometimes, like in my imaginary world for me to be okay. That's something I'm working on, where somebody has what I want, and then I'm like, oh, okay, they can have that. Well, they have to also have this really bad thing going on because my bad thing or the thing that I want is what they have. So it kind of like just to balance it out. I don't know. But I think the golden rule comment was really interesting because not only should you treat others the way you want to be treated, but treat yourself the way that you treat others. Kind of, especially if you're in the position of always pouring into other people. And that seems like it's such a common phrase in the last couple episodes, or just overall, is that and maybe it's just the certain people I've been talking with where they're overdrawn people. They're always having to be the well for others. And then when they kind of struggle or, things start happening, they don't really have either a good support system, or things just get hard because they're always pouring into other people. So I can empathize with that. I have people in my life who do that, and just seeing them deteriorate over time. It's not like a rapid thing, and those are the nicest people. It's just, and like I've said in previous episodes, it's always fascinated me how people can be drawn to certain other people through charisma, or the mother aspect of always wanting to go to a woman or even a man for advice, and just kind of pouring out in a counselor way to people, which some people aren't equipped to do. And I've been thinking lately about like sharing your story and the importance of sharing your story to people who can handle it. And I'm at a conflicting point with this thought because I did an exercise where I like wrote my entire life story, right? Like just everything I could think of and all of the pain and some of the joys and stuff. And then I read it out loud to like a group of people. And it was just like dead silent afterwards. And it was kind of like, wow, that's a lot. And like I just felt really hurt because they didn't know how to, react to my story. And, the comment was like, God's the only one that can handle your story. And at that time I was like really doubting, like, is there a God? Is there this big thing? And then like all of a sudden, if this thing isn't real, that's the only thing that can handle my story. Like not even a person is able to empathize or be there for me in this. I don't know. I just got really ticked off. And what made me, just sharing your story is important if you can find the people. It's important regardless. Like that's why I'm doing this, but it's also important to find like a select group of people or one person that really can fully be open and full to receive what you're going through sometimes, I guess. Unfortunately, we end up scaring off people when we're a little too vulnerable, whether romantically or platonically in relationships. People don't want to hang out with us anymore because we're always negative. I'm doing quotes because sometimes we are and sometimes we're not, but that kind of sucks. I don't really know how to deal with that / answer that question as to how to fix it, but I know it's there, and it's happened to me where I end up scaring off people because I talk about certain stuff all the time, or I've just been really struggling and I need help. And that's why a counselor is really helpful for some people, is because that's like your default person. Yeah, you're paying them, but if you have a good counselor, it really doesn't feel like that. So which is kind of the case with me. You can really hear the strength, though, from Emily's story and having a single parent home. And we have kind of somewhat our first repeat type of story with a single parent home. So that was interesting to kind of know what to kind of expect a little bit, but there's obviously some twists. And I think it was really interesting how she talked about her brother and then being basically verbally abused and the transfer of pain has always been fascinating, and that really resonated with me of like how bullies work, right? How like they've been hurt through whatever reason and then they put down other people. And for me, I what ends up happening is like I've done that before, and you either can mirror it back to the person that hurt you or you just transfer it to another person. So like, for example, when I was like really having some issues with my mom, I would notice that when I would play basketball, I'd get angry at the refs. I'd punt the basketball. I don't know if I did that, but like I got really angry when we lost sports games, like intramurals. And then like if a ref made a bad call, like I'd get up in his face. Like I would throw the ball. I threw the ball one time when we lost. Like it was, and I kind of took a step back and was like, yeah, because I'm angry at my mom and I'm taking it out on situations or people, or my teammates would make stupid decisions or do something that pissed me off, and it just like I was like a firecracker, or I just was short fuse. That's the right word. I just had a really short fuse you're just waiting for an excuse to like delegate that pain or just to take it out on somebody, and it's just not, it only makes the things worse because you're just making that person's day worse, or you're not solving the problem. That was just an interesting thing to hear about, but I'm glad that their relationship's gotten better. That was nice to hear. And I think it was kind of cool when she was talking about like love at first sight, platonic. I think there's something to that too, like just chemistry between two people. I'm sure it exists. I'm just not like, it made sense to me, but I don't know if I don't know. I feel like I've experienced it, but I kind of haven't. And it makes sense that it would exist, just like romantic chemistry. Like you kind of just know that someone's going to be there. Like not for the rest of your life, but you just like, oh, this is you see something differently in another person. Mine usually ends up leading to like what I've mentioned before, like the not physical characteristics, the character traits of somebody that I really like, and I like to point them out to them. It's like, oh, you're really, a hard worker, or you have a bubbly personality, or I don't know, those aren't really specific examples, but I really enjoy doing that. And when I feel that way, I feel it, right? That's kind of what sometimes a debrief is I kind of go in a little bit deeper into how I feel about my guest or something like that. So Emily was great. She's a talker, and that's always good. It was kind of funny to think about her dating an introvert just because of how extroverted she is. But hey, if it works, it works. So, good on her. And ultimately, that's super cool that she was able to start to become herself more because of a relationship and some dude just letting her be herself. That's really cool. And the best part is, even if they break up, it's kind of you still retain that, or have a better ability to access that part of yourself that is your true self, and not have to wear makeup per se. If you go, not literally, but metaphorically, you understand what I'm saying. So it was a good episode. It was a little hot out because we had to record in my car, but other than that, we rolled the windows down, so we had to pause it a couple of times because people were being loud in the parking lot. But it was a good episode. I can't believe we made it to 17. We did it. Yay. Thanks, guys. If you want to be on the podcast, I'll record a phone call. If you're outside of Indianapolis, or if you're in here, let's go hang out so we can talk about anything you want. And shallow or deep, we're going to go swimming. We got the floaties, we got the swimming trainers, we got the lifeguards on duty. We'll be fine. We'll have fun. So thanks so much for listening this week. If you if you want to be on the podcast, just DM me, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. So I hope you have a good rest of your week. You're loved, you're awesome, and goodbye.